Good morning.
Good morning.
So happy to see all of you here in church this morning on this Sunday before Thanksgiving. And it's amazing how Thanksgiving is just right in front of us. But I just wanted you all to know that in this season of gratitude, how thankful I am to not only serve as your parish priest, but thankful to be in your presence this morning and to worship with you. You make our worship, you make the experience that we have on Sunday mornings, this liturgy, possible. I don't know if you're aware of this, but a priest cannot do a divine liturgy by himself. It requires you to be here. I cannot do a service at all if there are not more than 2 people in this church service. And obviously we have a lot more here and a lot more online. But I just want you to know how grateful I am that you are all here worshiping with us. And to those of you that are tuning in and worshiping with us virtually, as always, we love having you virtually worship with us. And we hope and pray that if you're in the Jacksonville area, that you'll come and worship with us. Or if you're ever visiting in this area, that you'll come and be with us. We love having you a part of our family as always. And if you happen to be new to our church or visiting our community today, welcome to St. John the Divine. Please, as you're exiting this morning, make it a point to introduce yourself to me. Let me know who you are, and so I can formally welcome you to our community. But as you're exiting today, all of our welcoming team will be in the very far back. They'll tell you all about the great things that are happening in our church. And some of the great things that are happening are right behind me. This is like amazing. Like you guys are living in like a breaking news story. In the 106-year history of St. John the Divine, we have never had this. This is unique. We've had icons on the walls, which were absolutely beautiful and stunning. We have them in our chapel, but nothing like this. This is unique, and you're here to experience it. For many, many years that we will see this taking place, and every single Sunday when you come to church and every time during the week, you're going to see new icons coming up over the next several weeks. It's going to be a powerful time, so you do not want to miss being in church with us on Sunday morning. So let's get started, okay? Several weeks ago, I began a brand new sermon series on the book of Daniel. And if you know anything about the book of Daniel, let me just kind of set the course for all of you. But this book of Daniel is about the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, that lived about the 6th century before Christ. And when God would oftentimes tell them, be careful how you're living your life. Be careful of a culture that is shifting, a culture that is telling you to compromise on your faith, compromise on your identity, compromise on the morals and the values of this world. God told the people of the Hebrew nation 2,600 years ago, be careful. And oftentimes they would follow him at times, and then at other times they would not. And God would come to them and send prophets. And sometimes they would listen and sometimes they wouldn't. And what you need to know about in the book of Daniel is that God doesn't cause a bad thing to happen, but sometimes he will allow it to happen for them to realize what is really important in their lives. And so God allows these people, they're called the Babylonians. The Babylonians is in present-day Iraq under a leader called King Nebuchadnezzar. And King Nebuchadnezzar believed that he himself was a god. And he told the people of Babylon, in fact, the word Babylon means the gate of the gods, so that every god is there worshipped. And they would end up conquering the people of Israel, the Hebrew nation. And over the last several weeks, we've been covering a different theme every day, every Sunday, in which God reveals to us an area that we need to know as we're looking at a culture that too is shifting away from God. So today I want to talk to you about how God has blessed all of us. You know, friends, God gives us so many gifts, so many blessings. I know that maybe some of you that are sitting in this church right now may not feel like that, but God gives us blessings. He gives us opportunities. He gives us grace. And one of the things that we oftentimes take for granted, this one gift that God gives us all the time, that we oftentimes take for granted, listen to me, is the gift of time. God gives all of us time to value our families and to spend time with them, to tell them how grateful we are that they are in our life. God gives us the time to enjoy our life, to be not all work, but to have some play in there. But perhaps one area that we do not recognize that God is giving us time to do, listen to me everyone, is time to focus on our faith. Like every day, God is saying to you, hey, I need you to get closer to me. Time that God says to resolve a conflict that you've been having for years and years. Time for us to live less stressed and more blessed. Time for us to focus more on heaven than on planet Earth. And God tells us, in fact, He warns us, He says, believe me, how you spend your time down here will determine if you make it up there. I love sharing this illustration. I've done this on a number of times here. Can't get tired of it. This is probably more from me than you, but just in case you've never seen this before, I want you to imagine for a moment that this whole rope, every bit of it, is your life on planet, on this, your whole life, every part of it. Just imagine all this is your life. Just keep on going. If I was to untangle all of this rope, it would go from where I'm at to the back of this church. That's your life. But only the red part is your life on this earth. That's it. This is all there is, the red part. And for a lot of us, we're letting the red part speak louder than the white part. For a lot of us, we're focused so much on this that we're not realizing that this is all of our life. This is all of our life on earth. And so can I give you the thesis, the takeaway statement for today? It's very simple. It's not very theological, but this. Stop being distracted with this life down here because God wants you to end up there. Stop getting so distracted with what's going on down here that you forget that you're called to live to make it up there. This is on full display in this morning's chapter from the book of Daniel. We're in chapter 4 of the book of Daniel. And just so you all know, in this chapter, it's amazing. Nebuchadnezzar, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, has now died, and his son Belshazzar is there. Now, when the King Nebuchadnezzar came into Jerusalem and took over the land, he went into the temple there, and he took all the chalices, all the holy things that were holy to the people of the Hebrew nation. And they took them there, and they're having this banquet with the chalices and the holy items from the Hebrew nation. And they're sitting there celebrating. They're drinking their wine. They're all, let's just say they're inebriated. They're feeling a little bit high, if you will. They're all utilizing these things that were sacred to the people, holy to the people, and using them to celebrate all that Belshazzar had done on this earth. In the middle of this banquet, this party that they're having, and perhaps one of the most amazing scenes in the entire Bible, a table is there, and on this table is a box. The box opens automatically, and a hand comes out of this box, just like the Addams family, yes. Climbs up on the table, goes up on the wall. You can read about this, everyone, and simply writes words that those people had no idea, and we have no idea what they meant. It said, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin. Belshazzar's there, and he's drinking, all pretty much drunk in his life, and the people that are there at that party, they're doing the same. And they don't know how to translate what is being said on this wall. I mean, imagine you being at a party and all of a sudden a hand comes out of nowhere and writes that phrase. So they're sitting there in awe, and they remember that a man named Daniel, who the book is written after, has the ability to translate the words of God. And so they invite Daniel there, and they say, Daniel, what does that mean? And listen to what he says. He says that word many means, listen to me, your days on this earth are numbered. Your days on this earth are numbered. Tekel means that you will face a judgment, and it'll be humility or it's going to be humiliation. And then parson, which means that you're in a world right now where you're constantly wanting. You're always wanting something else, but your days are numbered. And can I just share with all of you as you're reading this in the book of Daniel, the encouragement for all of you as you're seeing this and hearing this is asking yourself this question. Am I living for the red or am I living for the white? Because the handwriting is on the wall. Am I living for the red or am I living for the white? So let me give you 3 ways to make sure that you and I always live for the white and not for the red. Here's number 1. I want all of you to take the time, because your days are numbered. Take the time to stop looking around and start looking up. We are living in a world, friends, that I've told you over the last several weeks, in which we're compromising. Not only are we compromising on our morals and values, we're being compromised on what we believe about life. We're seeing a world that's telling us that we should believe this or do that. In fact, they have this phrase now called the cancel culture. I had someone tell me, Father Nick, you have to be careful when you give this sermon because you may get, Father Nick, canceled. Let me tell you something. Jesus Christ would have been canceled. He too was criticized, but he stood up when everyone else was sitting down. And what you need to hear from me, church family, is there was a prayer that Christ said over all of his disciples before he would go to the cross, before he would go to that cross, in which he told his disciples, listen to me, you are in this world, but you are not of this world. You're in it, but don't be mistaken, you're not of it. You're not part of the red, you're part of the white. And I'm just encouraging you all that you have to do what we're going to say in a few minutes after this sermon, where I will command all of us through the prayers of St. John Chrysostom, this prayer. Stomen kalos, stomen metaphovo. Let us stand in awe. Let us stand infirm. Let us stand up for Christ. And some of us, my friends, be careful, because the world would love for you to put all your investments in the red. But we're not living for the red, we're living for the white. Here's number 2. As not only do we take the time to focus up there and not down here, is that we take time to focus on the unseen as opposed to the seen. In this morning's gospel lesson, many of you heard it. Some of y'all came a little bit later, but it's okay. You're here, that's all right. That was a joke, everyone. It's a serious topic, and I thought I'd make y'all laugh. But here you have Jesus giving this parable. And there's this guy that's all he's talking about. It's like, look at how much stuff I have. Look how much wealth that I have. I got all these crops. Instead of me giving them away or making a difference, let me build a bigger barn to do that. And then I'll say, then I'll be happy. And a lot of times, let me translate to today's world. Some of us have bought into this idea that more is going to give us happiness. Listen to me, everyone. That is a lie. More, I can give you a lot of wealthy people that are not happy. So let me just share this with you in a very basic way. In that parable, that goes on to say that the man relaxes. He sits back in the recliner of his life saying, wow, look at what I've done. And Jesus Christ says this. This is Christ speaking. He says, you fool. You never want to hear God say to you, you fool. He says, you fool. Your soul is going to be asked of you today, and you're not ready because you live for the red and not for the white. And can I just tell you that the Bible says stop storing up treasures here on earth that are going to moth away, that are going to rust. I'm telling you this. Stop doing that. Yesterday, our church, I was so proud of our community. Many of all of you, or many of you, were at the Prime Osborne Convention Center as we served 15 and prepared 15,000 meals. Why do we do that? So that we can all just, oh wow, I just feel so good, it's the Thanksgiving season. No, we're trying to build up treasure. I don't know about all of you, but that's why we do it, is that we're building up treasure, not on earth. I don't need someone to say, hey, good job. I'm building up treasure in heaven. I'm living for the white. And I'm just encouraging you all that as you go out, as you look at what you give to the church, as you look at what your time, your talent, your treasure you give to the church, ask yourself, am I living for the white or am I living for the red? And here's the final one, is that we take time not only to look up and not look around, that we take time to focus on the unseen. I want to be in heaven, not on earth. To take time to focus on my faith. We're in this season of great Advent. It begins November 15th every year. This is one fasting season that does not rotate. November 15th every year, we're in a fasting season. a fasting time of prayer, of 40 days of prayer and fasting. Here's your homework assignment today. I gave it to our Wednesday night Bible study. I want all of you, when you get home today, to take out a piece of paper. Do this very privately. On one side of the paper, I want you to write down what you need to fast from. What would Jesus Christ tell you? Hey, fast from this. Fast from worry, gossip, negative talk, negative thinking, whatever it is, put all those things on the left side of the paper. On the right side of the paper, I want you to put down, what would God tell you to start feasting on? I need to spend some more time with you, God. I need to spend time every day praying to you, spending time with you, praying. What are you going to fast from? And what are you going to pray? What are you going to feast on? Let me make this in a very simple way. Do you want to know how you stay steady in a culture that is shifting? You stay connected to the one who does not move. You stay connected to Christ. I'll leave you with this. Every day in the Orthodox Church, we celebrate different saints and different prophets of our church. And today in the Orthodox Church, we celebrate an extraordinary man. His name is Barlaam. Many of you may not have ever even heard of him. But Barlaam lived under a time of the Emperor Diocletian. Diocletian hated the Christians. This is a time when Christianity is illegal. Much like the Babylonians, the Romans also worshiped gods. You all know that. They would worship gods. They would tell the people to compromise. In fact, they would have different ways of teaching them that they needed to bow down and worship the many gods that were there. In fact, Diocletian was such an awful ruler that he would take the Christians, everyone, and because he loved to be his gardens, just like Nero, he would simply light all the Christians on fire so that at night he could see his garden. And there was this man named Barlaam who was an amazing man. He was an older man who Diocletian issued a decree that I expect all of you to bow down to this God. And Barlaam, as an older man, said, I will not. So they beat this old man. They beat him and threw him in jail. They asked him again, Barlaam, do you now worship the Roman gods? He had a family. He said no. Then they took him and did things that I can't tell you because it would be too much on your children. They again asked him, Barlaam, do you worship our gods? He said no. So they said, okay, you're not going to bow down to us? You're not going to give your soul to these gods? So they took his hand, and on the icons of St. Barlaam, you will see this, and they put charcoal, hot charcoal on them, allowing it. He said, if you can't offer incense as an offering, we'll have your hand burning as the incense to our gods. And he sat there and he held that incense as it was burning his hand. And they'd eventually, the smoke from the smell of his skin obviously burning, and he sat there and held that. He would end up never compromising on his faith. Now let me tell you that this man was so amazing, they would end up killing him. But he was so amazing that not only St. Basil the Great spoke about him, but St. John Chrysostom spoke about him. Two saints gave the eulogy to this man. Listen to what they said. They said, this day we celebrate Barlaam. His hand was eventually turned. But this was not a sign of his defeat because it was caused by the burning of his flesh. But he never broke his determination in God. He became a true priest, offering his body as a sacrifice. And then it says this beautiful statement. To truly honor these martyrs with their determination is to imitate them. And church family, when we talk about what our job is in this world, I'm asking you to remember the saints like Barlaam, where we live in the coziness of this country, where we live in the freedom of no one's going to put charcoal in your hands. But to remember that God is still telling you, stand up even when everyone else is sitting down. To stand up for our faith. Why? Because the writing is on the wall. So go out today, recognizing that 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Time is ticking. Take the time to look up and not look around. Take time to make sure, church family, that you're living for the unseen, not the seen. and that you're taking time every day to focus on your faith. Take time, friends, to live for the white and not the red. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for downloading this message. I hope that in some small way this sermon can inspire you, motivate you, and guide you in your walk of faith. I'm a firm believer, friends, in what I like to call practical Christianity. Basically trying my best to give you some steps and some tips that you can follow to apply this sermon in your everyday walk of faith. And so if you have found this sermon beneficial, do me a favor. Not only do I want you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you get access to all of our sermons, but I also want you to share them with your family and your friends. Let's go out and make a difference in this world, and hopefully this sermon can be one way that we do just that. I also want you to stay in touch with us all throughout the week on our social media platforms. Friends, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook and Twitter, all under the headings of The Louhs. And this past year, Roxanne and I started sending out these daily inspirational messages. And if you would like to receive those messages, go to our website at thelouhs.com/subscribe. And all you have to do is simply put up your email address, and every day at 7 a.m., you'll receive one of our daily words of encouragement. And finally, friends, if I can ever be of assistance to you, do me a favor. You can stay in touch with me by going and emailing me at fathernicholas@thelouhs.com. That's fathernicholas@thelouhs.com. Once again, everyone, thanks so much for downloading this message. God bless you, and stay strong in your walk of faith.